Hello, good evening, Nigeria. Good evening, everyone tuned to Gomnet TV. This is the Better You TV show making a return to your screens and to your phones and your devices from across the world, wherever you're joining us from. It's been a beautiful entrance into 2022, and I believe that this year holds a better prospect for you wherever you are because you have to be the better you. I am excited. We've taken some time off this program so that we can come back repackaged, better to serve you and the best interest of you becoming the best version of yourself. I remain yours sincerely, Godwin Obuche, anchoring from the city of Kano, and my brother is joining me as a co-anchor from the other end of the world in Abuja, the city that we are afraid to drive through by road from Kano to join him there. Dr. Mo Paul, you're welcome to 2022. You're welcome back to the Beat on the Better You TV show.
Absolutely. For our viewers out there, this is the Better You TV show on Govnet TV. And yes, we're refreshed, we're rejuvenated, we're reset, we're absolutely ready to kick it and get it off going. And the stage is set, the nation is ready, and we're all good to go. And it's going to be a beautiful, wonderful, exciting year, regardless. If you stick onto this platform and you're glued onto this better you will definitely see a better you in this 2022. So yes, I agree. And here from the city of Abuja, this is the safest place to be in Nigeria. So fly in, drive in, just ensure that you are in and you're safe.
All right. Some few days ago, I was on a radio show, and somebody was saying a whole lot of things about my profile, and I say, "Well, thank you, Mr. Zugaman. Zugaring me," and so that's how my co-host is now zugaring us about the city of Abuja being the safest place in the whole country. Okay, it does appear you are so safe, you are locked in there, you can't go out, you can't go to the next city, not of the city of Abuja. You can't go to Kaduna easily, yet you're the safest. I thought if you are very safe, you safeguard all your neighboring cities. If your neighbor's house is on fire, are you safe?
Absolutely not. And this is why we're here on the Better
Yeah.
UTV show to explain, to also x-ray what and where and how we have to be safe. Because to be safe, if you're safe and your neighbor is not safe, it means you're not safe. And that's definitely
So,
not a better version of us. So yes, I would agree with my co-host and my principal host that we're not safe yet until everyone is safe.
yes, since we are operating from one geographical space called Nigeria, it's exciting to be back. And we're starting off with one of our most interesting thematic areas, nation building. And the debate in the course of the last couple of weeks has been on the political expediency of zoning or not. And most of the political parties have had and continue to have heated debates on whether the political offices available to be vied for in 2023 or this year, particularly because the political space is heating up already, and candidates are declaring left, right, and center. So, who is going to vie for what and from what part of the country? That's our subject matter for today. We're looking at zoning versus political expediency. Should we adopt zoning as a political solution to our, structural problem, or should we um, allow zoning to replace the concept of merit? So, what is it that we are going to be having? Because the entire end game should be better governance and quality leadership. Now, if we don't have that, then whatever method we're using for the leadership selection process becomes a no issue. And so
Yeah.
that's our subject matter for this evening. And we will kick off right after our music break. And today we're going way, way back to pick on one of the legends of music of African extraction, but of Jamaican origin, by the name of Bob Marley. And he will be doing this song for us, even though he's been long gone. Redemption song. How can we free ourselves and our nation from mental slavery? Enjoy this. We do not have the right to this, so we acknowledge the fact that we're taking it and using it with these reference. We're referencing the fact that we do not have the right to it, but we are giving credit to whom it is due. Redemption song.
And put it up in your house. And a placard as one of the vehicles that help to free the people from this chain and bondage of oppression.
Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation, triumphantly. Won't you live to sing another song of freedom? Is all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing another song of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs.
There's no end to this music, man.
Redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing another song of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs.
Redemption Song by Bob Marley, a critically powerful song that gives us a clear idea of how the black race and the third world countries and the people generally have been enslaved mentally and leaving them with no choice but to be subject to despotic and selfish leadership. And that has not departed from the continent of Africa as we continue to see sit-tight leaders across the continent living off the people. The other day at the beginning of the AFCON, the president of Cameroon was called to give a speech, and because of age, he made just one statement of one sentence and took his seat. The man is almost 90 years old. He has been president of the nation of Cameroon since I was 10. I'll be 50 this year. The man has spent he has spent more than 40 years on the seat of presidency. So democracy virtually does not exist in that country. It's a one-party state. And so this man, Bob Marley, was a prophet of note who saw into the future. And while we seek to extricate ourselves from colonial rule, we have a new form of colonialism, which is imperialist leadership over us by our own people, just the way the elders and the kings of those days sold our black brothers away in exchange for some whatever thing it was to the white people. And it has not stopped. Today we have economic slavery, we have economic imperialism, and we have economic recolonization or neo-colonialist in economic forms. Over to you in Abuja before we start off on this critical subject of zoning versus political expediency. How is the African continent doing with respect to respecting the wishes of the people, especially with the recent spate of coups and counter coups on the West African coast?
You know, it leaves a very bitter aftertaste every time we speak about the continent of Africa, its economic well-being, and the state of its people and her resources generally, from the from the current crisis and the coups going on, and then you come down to the West African region with the poverty streaking through the street. And then you move down South Africa with the xenophobic energy and also the inundated with grappling with incompetency and of leadership and people generally. Amidst all the young energies and the vibrancy of our people, you hear in the United States that particularly Nigeria, of the Nigerian African descent, are the most educated, the most qualified for medical engineering and even political positions, by the diaspora. And then you begin to wonder how and where and when we're going to get out of this quagmire here back at home. And like you rightly reiterated, the mindset has really not shifted from where our forebearers were. I mean, our present Minister of Labor said a few months back that Nigeria has too many doctors, and therefore it is okay for our doctors to be shipped out of this country. And here, right here, where I am in the city, not too far from where I am right now, was a prominent hotel where they gathered our medical qualified doctors who were going through programs to be shipped out of the country. And you can see that the mentality of our leaders today are no different from our forebearers who sold our our sons and daughters of Africa for mere gunpowder and mirror. It is still the same thing happening today, sadly. And so there is no better way to put it. You can't sugarcoat it because we are living and grappling with this reality. And this is why I couldn't even smile I couldn't even laugh, at what's going on. And Bob Marley's songs epitomizes exactly what the African continent is going through. And it's a prayer and a profession that we have continued over 30 years, over 3 decades after is gone. We're still in the same spot, standing on the same specific spot where our forebearers stood. And here we are.
It's a sad narrative. It is not something that is worthy of any kind of celebration. But of course, we must keep the hope agenda alive. And that's why we're here having this conversation today on the very first edition of the Better You TV show on Govnet TV. We are talking about zoning versus political independence. Now, let's look at this subject very objectively. Passions can flare up when conversations like these are had, and it is also possible that there are viewers across the length and breadth of the country and those in the diaspora who might be watching this episode and might be wondering, what are these people talking about? Especially when a very emotional subject like this is being discussed, there are people on both sides of the aisle who want you to pitch tent with them. But this evening, we would want to be unbiased umpires. We want to be very objective Nigerians and look at the subject from the point of view of what really is best for Nigeria. And we are not civil rights activists, more or less, tonight. We are very objective analysts who want to, take a leave from whatever is our very basic bias, irrespective of the level of injustice that Nigeria has suffered. At some point in the life of a country, certain things have to be put behind, and the generality of the need of a country has to be looked at. What is it that is a common thread and a common need of the people in Sokoto, right across Ogobia, down to Boni Camp in River State? What is a thread that links us? What is a basic human need that we have that no matter who has been on the leadership seat in Abuja has not been able to provide for us? Whether the person is from Daura, have the people of Daura actually enjoyed security? What about the time that we had 2 different leaders who were men from the same city of Mina, and they currently live on the hillsides of Mina? If you enter the Mina, Niger State capital today, is it a safe place? About 50 kilometers outside of Mina, the governor of Niger State, Sani Bello, had said several times that Mina and Niger State is a state under siege. Yet we have produced 2 leaders. One of its longest serving leaders in Nigeria's history, in the person of Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. He lives there. General Abdusalam Abubakar, the leader of a so-called National Peace Committee, he is from Niger State. All of the time that they have been leaders, what has it been as a benefit to the people of Niger State? We had a Senate president from Benue State who to date is the longest serving Senate president in Nigeria's history from 2007 to 2015. Yet the major road, passing in front of the city of Otukpo from Makurdi, if you're on your way to Enugu, is an eyesore. How has the Senate presidency of David Mark affected the fortunes of a dormant nation? How has the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan changed the face of Bayelsa State, that it is today one of the states that have the lowest level of internally generated revenue, and they depend solely on the revenues coming from Abuja on the basis of a 13% derivative, which is as a result of the fact that they are a Niger Delta state, an oil producing state. So what has been the benefits of those who have occupied the state? Why is there so much clamor about it? Has to be from my part of the country. I want to have a sense of belonging. But beyond that sense of belonging, what economic benefit, what social benefit, what human capital benefit has it been to you as a person? Those are the things we want to examine today, and I want to yield the mic to my co-host in Abuja. Let's talk about what politically is referred to as zoning. What is the concept of zoning really, and what is the brain behind it? He is the more politically aware. He has been in the trenches. He continues to be in the trenches. Just before we came on air, he was telling me that he has been into all kinds of political meetings today because he is strategizing towards 2023. And here am I. I'm not even a card-carrying member of any political party. I don't belong to the umbrella camp. I don't belong to the broom-carrying camp. And the Ichebo chicken-waving camp, I don't belong. So over to you.
That's on the lighter note. And in any case, for those who are listening, just like my principal host, it's important to say that we have to get actively into the politics, because if you don't, those who do will not leave you alone. They determine your birth date, they determine your death date, they determine everything that you do. They determine the incorporation of your church or mosque or business or whatever you do. So they're not going to leave you alone. They will interfere with the taxes you pay. They will interfere with the light you have. They will interfere with the water you drink. They will interfere with the cars you drive and everything that has to do with your life. So it is expedient and very important for us to modern the knowledge to actively get into politics. And to add the other part of the other perspective to what you said about the different people that you have mentioned in terms of the clamoring for zoning and how effective and how impactful has it been, given all the zoning that we've had so far, from the longest serving senator to the city that warehouses two former presidents, which is completely, in fact, the most dangerous city, because as we speak, a part of that city, which is next to the capital, is being completely overrun by bandits, completely. To give the other side to it is to say that coming from the Middle Belt, I just want to, just a tidbit, the Middle Belt, taking a state in the Middle Belt, which is the Benue State. And even if you're listening from California or South Africa, Benue State has been on the map of the world, of the globe, because of the current governor, who has been shouting for against the killings of his people, for the past few years now. He has become very popular, in the political space and the social media space because of the Fulani header crisis. Incidentally, Benue State, as we speak, today, is it yesterday or today, if I'm not mistaken, turns 46 years old since its creation in 1976, on the 3rd of February, 1976. So yes, today, Benue State turned 46, and here we are. Since the creation of Benue State, there are three major languages. Actually, two, but three majorly. In Benue State, you have the Tiv people, you have the Idoma people, and then you have the Igedes, and then a fraction of the Tulos and other patches. But incidentally or critically, there are majorly two languages, the Idomas and the Tivs, and then of course you have the Igedes. But since its creation, 46 years down the line, you've had just one tribe ruling the state. And yet, the state has no investment, it has no economic plan, it has nothing but for the youth, for the old. It hasn't paid its pensions, it's owing salaries in months and months of arrears. It is as backward as you can think of, but yet only one tribe has ruled the state. So the question is, in Benue State, there hasn't been zoning. There has just been what you call a rotational value within the, yes, not even majority rule, but just a rotation within the clan value of the TIF system, because the rotation has been between zone A and zone B. Ideally,
so in a way, there has been a zoning principle, but it is skewed towards just one tribe.
One tribe. The zoning should have been within the three senatorial districts.
Zone.
Yes, but there is no zoning because it's just one tribe, it's just one clan, it's just one family that has been ruling Benue State. Now, to give a perspective to our discussion tonight, nobody would have raised any issue about who is ruling and who is not ruling, what tribe is there and what tribe is not there. If there is progress, if there is security, if there is water, if there is education, if there is healthcare, if all the indices of what is required to have a humane living, to have a proper living condition for any and every citizen, there won't be need for that. But you can see why we have to raise the issue here is because with still one tribe, without zoning, just one tribe leading, everything is backward. There is no education, there is no investment, there is no planning, there is no security, there is no hospital. All the indices that indicates a living environment for any normal human being does not exist in Benue State. So you ask the question, in places where zoning took place, nothing happened. In the places where there is no zoning, there is still no sustainable progress. So we are back to our discussion today, because now it sets the balance. And we already told you today, we're not going to lean towards any sentimental bridge. We're going to stay and state the issues as clear and as clean and they should be. You know, so zoning versus political expediency. The first thing I'm going to discuss before I roll up to my principal host tonight is to talk about like where it started it up from. Even if we talk about the one thread that connects all of us, regardless of class, regardless of gender, regardless of political party, regardless of tribe, and regardless of religion, is insecurity. Insecurity connects all of us because the poor is being killed, the rich is being killed, Muslims and Christians and pagan alike, they are all dying by insecurity. Nobody can move. Nigeria is not safe. And yet, so at the end of the day, it is not zoning and it is not about not zoning, but about the competency of leadership. That is where it comes down to. Because like I gave the statistics in our opening, the United States of America has the data that shows that Nigeria, and this is a combination of all the tribes, from the Idoma to the Tiv to the Yoruba to the Igbos and all the tribes alike, to the Nupe and the Gwaris, all inclusive, that travels to school in America. They're the most trained people in engineering, in medicine, in all over. So it means that whichever part of the divide, there are competent, capable people who can steer the leadership of this country. So I think the problem here comes down to the fact that In every geopolitical zone, we are having the worst of us to lead the rest of us.
The rest of us. Wow. We are having the worst of us to lead the rest of us. And that and such a narrative is actually very, very uh, dangerous, because irrespective of which geopolitical zone produces the presidency, if the mentality and the level of competence does not rise up beyond the mediocrity that we have seen over the last couple of decades, then we will be um, recycling the same people who have tentacles in all of the different geopolitical zones. And so rather than focus on zoning and the political expediency that it comes along with, we should seek a system that produces the best among us, who have the right ideas, who can actually explain to us and tell us exactly how they want the the Nigerian project, will turn out. Because as it is now, the citizens do not actually know, in effect, the generality of the citizens, because of this noise about the zoning. We are forgetting about the concept of competence. We are not discussing the basic issues
Issues.
that we should, yes, the basic issues that confront us as a nation, because our problem as a country is not really where the president comes from. We had a president in 2007, even though he came through an electoral process that is questionable, in the passing of the late Musa Yaradua, Sheikh Musa Yaradua.
Yes.
Why am I forgetting the first name? All right. So he was a very competent leader. He was educated. He had a grasp of the issues. He was able to deal with the issue of the Niger Delta militancy without shooting a gun. That was the kind of leadership that we had, but because of his health challenges, we couldn't have him for so long. So I try to imagine a Yaradua presidency in Nigeria over a period of 8 years. It would have affected our national psyche in a way that we would have understood better the tenets of democracy and how to be able to lead without having all kinds of airs around you. Yaradua was so competent as a leader that he volunteered press interviews every other day. He had a grasp of the issues. He could talk about it. But today, we do not have such a leader. We have a situation where ECOWAS leaders have been meeting consistently on the issue of coups and counter coups on the sub-region, led by the erudite and very competent, I would say, from my own point of view, ECOWAS president in the person of President Ado Kufo, and he has been doing a yeoman's job, but constantly our own country is represented by its vice president. We are not carrying the full weight of our leadership to have a say at such sub-regional organization. That because if you look at the entire West Africa, if you remove Nigeria out of the equation, the remaining 15 or 14 nations put together is not up to our population. And we have the biggest economy amongst them. We are a sub-regional power militarily, but we do not have the political capacity to be able to provide leadership for this space. So now, if we cannot engage with the outside world rightly, we cannot deal with our security challenges, we cannot handle our economy rightly, the place where the president comes from is of no consequence. And so going into the next election cycle, rather than focus our attention on zoning, I believe the political parties should be patriotic enough to look out for the right persons who will address the issues. Now, if you even want to talk about zoning as a means of carrying every part of the country along, then you should look for the best persons from each zone and let there be a healthy competition. Let there be a healthy competition for the position. Let the issues be laid bare, and let them come
Absolutely.
and present their issues before the people. Now, this issue of selecting leaders in the middle of the night through whatever consensus that they have coined up, which they have smuggled again into the electoral deal, I do not understand how they want us to really trust them. So,
Exactly.
yes, I need you to speak to that issue, because the electoral bill has been amended, and the amendment that we expected was, okay, give them the opportunity of doing indirect primaries, so that if you're complaining of costs and the time factor, because every good democracy, the people that we copy the presidential system from, the American state, when they run their primaries, is state by state. Members of the political parties come out to vote for the candidates, and they move from state to state. There is primaries that holds, across the country. There is also the one that they call the Super Tuesday, where more than 12 states are voting simultaneously, and it's actually like a general election. When you go through the grind, almost 7 months of primaries, and then you produce the leader from your party. Of course, through that grinding process, the person who will emerge would have known that this is not a joke, because the emotional and the energy draining travels that you get to talk about your vision every other day in order to convince the next state for the primary, and there is a number that you need to win so that you can emerge as a major and the only contender from your party. But the exhaustion from that primaries is bigger than the main general election, because that's where the competence and the tenacity and the capacity of the candidate is known. But we just want easy way out, and we think that money and name and where the person comes from can just produce the result for the candidate. Those are my thoughts. I think
I think
we
you
can
have,
do better.
yeah,
We can do better.
you you have rightly nailed it. And just listening to you, anybody listening would understand that everything you're talking about a democracy where the process of leadership is entrenched in the process, in the democratic, in the political process of the people. Everything you're talking about shows leadership is a selection and the election process of leadership, where you talk about your vision day and night until when they wake you from sleep, you know exactly what you are called to do. What we have here, sadly, in Nigeria and in Africa, and given by the electoral bill that the president is signing, ascending to right now, shows clearly the fact that he completely disregarded the principle of the primary voting. What he has done is to, how do I put it? It is not about timing, it is not about money. This is where the grinding of leadership is. It is a necessary cause,
Yeah.
for the selection process of leadership. To boycott that and to remove that is simply to have removed the entire future of a people. What you have there is he has enacted a political, he has enacted the process of what we call the African politicking, where what we are going to have right now is not a leadership process, but the cycle of rotation of politicians. Because at the end of the day, politicians are only concerned about elections, but leadership
Absolutely.
is concerned about the process, about explaining visions, about teaching and exercising of his vision. And this is what the president has completely removed. It is not only sad, but it is it is very dangerous to our setup as a people. And that is what has happened. And it is important, while you were speaking, it's important for those that are listening, especially those in Nigeria and in Africa, to understand that this is undermining our democracy, because our
Absolutely.
democracy, politics is the structure that allows leaders to take their place in leadership, in governance of any system. So politicians are not necessarily leaders, but leaders must necessarily take part in politics. And this is part of the education that we need to give people. So we have politicians and politicians who are only concerned about becoming consensus candidates, and that does not allow them to go through the rigor, to go through the process of selection. This is a time where money, energy, tenacity, competence, and everything, including the physical health status, are tested, because leadership essentially is brain, soul, and body. And this is important to be tested, because leadership and going through this engagement, it is not, how do I put it? It is not a profession. It is not like something that it's not a profession that's like a medical doctor or an engineer or no, it is a life call. This is why, again, some have already, like we're part of those who are putting out the hypothesis to allow anybody who wants to vie into the position of a local government chairman, a governorship, and most importantly, the presidency of Nigeria, should be somebody who will go through crowdfunding. We will crowdfund you so that you understand that the mandate and the power does not come from the accumulation of stolen wealth, but from the resources of the commonwealth of the people. And we can only crowdfund you when you speak your vision, and the people can grasp your vision and can understand. You can tell us how, when, and where, how you will take the country from its current state to the next state, and you can explain the process and the timing is going to take. This is what is required, but this is also on one part. The other thing I want to explain before I yield the mic is, given the situation that we have today in our country, and this is where the Better You TV is proffering a solution that will help to quell the insecurity problem that we are going through. Just like we mentioned, taking Benue State as a case study, and I will juxtapose that on Nigeria before I yield the mic. If Benue State is not moving forward, where one tribe is leading, and there is so much anger, animosity, and every ill in the society, then it is only objective to yield the seat of power to another clan or to another tribe to rule. In the same vein, part of the way to move forward as a collective people, if there has been an agitation, because see, until the Igbo man become president, a Tiv man cannot become president, and a Doma man cannot become president. So it is important to go beyond the prejudices and the sentiments that divides and cover us. It is important for an Igbo man to become the president, somebody from the southeastern part of this country to become the president. This has nothing to do with what we like or what we want, but it will help in quelling the agitation that is destroying the country. It is important for that to happen. So because we are sharing ideas and perspective that will help, because Nigeria is inundated with multi-hydra-headed nature of problems. And yes, zoning, that is why in the constitution of the PDP, it is entrenched that after 8 years in the north, it will have to go to 8 years in the south, and it will have to come back again. Now, when it comes to the north will now have to look at, where has the president been? Is it in the southwest, in the southeast, in the northwest, in the northeast, in the north central? Then they'll have to decide. When it goes back to the south, The South will have to decide whether it is the Southeast or the Southwest or the South-South. This is how the game of politics is played. It is important to keep sharing this round, because at the end of the day, what we need is unity. And unity can only come when you have justice. And justice is about equity. And equity is about sharing. It's about brotherhood. It's about love for one another. And when we do that, because without justice, there cannot be peace. And without peace, a nation and the people can never have a sustainable growth in whatever we're doing. So leaders of thoughts, statesmen, politicians, family, community, business leaders, economic merchants, technocrats, it is time for us to put our heads together and speak fearlessly, objectively, decisively, from the media to the religious centers to the family background, to look at it and look into the issues that we're talking about. Because at the end of the day, if Nigeria does not stand, you will not even have zoning, much less talk about political expediency of who should take the nation to the next level.
All right. That's almost bringing the matter to a close. And I want to add my voice to what Dr. Mo has said with respect to the subject of equity and the concept of quelling agitation. I remember very critically how in 1998, upon the passing of the then head of state, General Sani Abacha, and then a month later, the winner of a 1993 June 12th general election also died. There was a grand swell of support for someone from the Southwest extraction to become the next president in the Fourth Republic that was being midwifed by the Abdul Salam military administration. Even though the administration was just about 11 months in office, there were people in the upper echelon of power, even though they were not in positions of leadership, but they are what Mr. Dele Momodu will call the owners of Nigeria. They believed, including the presumed person who annulled the election, IBB, insisted that the next president should come from the Southwest. And with that sentiment across the country as being the best way to quell the injustice that was meted on the people of the Southwest by reason of the annulment of the election of June 12th, both political parties, the major political parties of the day, they produced two candidates from the same zone. And so the choice was between one, a technocrat who had served as a banker and a finance minister or secretary to the government of the Federation in the military era, in the person of Olufalaye, and another son of the Southwest in the person of General Olusegun Obasanjo. So both ways, it was a win-win for the region. And that kind of created a measure of peace, and it put to bed or put to rest the agitation for the actualization of June 12th, more so that the winner of our election was no more. And just like he said, politics is about, satisfying interests and pacifying people and giving people the sense of belonging, while not looking away from the concept of competence. And so let's look at it objectively. The Northeast has never produced a president. The North Central has never produced a president. The Southeast has never produced a president in a democratic setting, because we're looking at presidency elected by the people, because we are not looking at the days of the military regimes because General Aguiyi was of the southeast extraction. And if you look at it from the military point of view, General Yakubu Gowon, someone from the North Central, was there. General IBV was there. He was from North Central. Abdusalam Abubakar is from Niger State, North Central. He was there. So if you look at the agitations, if we look at it holistically without looking at the civilian dispensations, it appears that it's only the Northeast that has not produced a president or a leader by the name of head of state. For Nigeria, every other zone has produced. But we are looking at what the Malam Bahaushe will call military ferihula. And you know, the way the Hausa man calls the civilian government literally means the military, the regime of white caps, those who wear white caps. So civilian governance has produced more from the southwest and the northwest. And then the south-south had a short-lived period of 5 years in Jonathan. So why don't we focus attention on the areas that have not produced the presidency? And for the sake of moral justice, let us look at the Southeast. If for nothing, for the purpose of saying that, yes, the stigmatization of the civil war has actually been put to rest, and we truly believe that we are a single nation. But while we are doing that, should we not look critically into the very competent persons that pervade the landscape of the Southeast? There are a lot of sons and daughters of the Southeast. Some of them are in the diaspora. Some of them don't belong to these parties. Is it not expedient for us to get these people to come run for the position of the presidency? Now, some of the people who have been declaring from the Southeast are the same people who have been ravaging our country, and they want to continue to do that. Now, as much as they have the right to, vie for any position, seeing that they have not been convicted of any crime, it is also important for us to, blow the trumpet and say to everyone who wish Nigeria well, especially people from the southeastern extraction, that we do not want the same kind of people recycled again and again, because the pedigree of these people have not spoken well. So if they come on board, they will produce the same result using the same method, which has kept us in the same place. And so this is an appeal. While we believe in the concept of justice, can the Southeasterners, for instance, queue behind one candidate that is competent? Because there is also the concept of every man wants to be a king, and every compound wants to be the ruling house. Mm-hmm. If we come up with that concept, the truth is that the other parts of the country that have the idea of standing and queuing behind one man will steal the show, and we will be back to the same agitation. And so before you point an accusing finger on others for not giving you the platform and the opportunity, can we do ourselves a favor as a country, wherever any of the parties have zoned this thing through? And even if they do not zone it, can we play the politics of negotiation and better display of ideas and not confrontation? Because if we confront each other, then we will be back to square one. Those are my thoughts. And I think that if we negotiate, if we apply the principle of social justice, and if we come up with the ideas of, can we queue behind one man who is competent, who has track records, who does not have the infamous character of being part of those who have destroyed the country from their own part of the country by reason of the positions they have occupied in the past, for which they have not rendered sound stewardship, then we will be able to get it right. Now, the people of Anambra State have spoken with one voice, and for the first time in many years in that state, they have picked a man who has a track record. And we want to trust that the demons of the office of governors will not overshadow him. He has done well so far by rhetorics. Let us believe that he will follow it up with action. And so such a person from the Southeast extraction can have a shot at the presidency, and everybody queue behind them. Will the power brokers in those regions allow that to happen? Well, for the interest of the people, they should do so. Let me ask my co-host to have a final say on this subject, and we shut the door on today's edition.
Well, what you have said, what I have said, ideally, this is what is expected of any sane nation and people. But we will still keep the question: will the power, will the owners of Nigeria, will they queue behind this objective analysis to allow for an emancipation of power truly to come from the people? Will they go beyond their selfishness and greed and need to allow for what is required to happen? These are all hypotheses and questions that we'll keep posing, because at the end of the day, the process of politicking has begun. And like we have it, we even have somebody, we have 2 or 3 people already from the northern extraction who are already declaring their intentions, even in one of the big political parties already. So the game is on already. It's a chase of positioning and repositioning has already started. And I was also shocked to also see that, and because it's already in the public space, I was surprised, and I didn't expect it. But Babangida has given his blessing to 2 people, and I was wondering, how could this be? How can you say they should give the current vice president the chance to contest, and then also when former Senate President Saraki went to him just a few days ago, he also gave his consent. So this is where we are, and this is where it really becomes interesting, but yet worrisome. But you know, this is a better you. We're not just here to pour in analysis that will make you become gloomy and angry and all of that. No, it is interesting, and we'll keep watching. My last word and statement will be that whatever happens, get your PVC and make sure you join your hands and queue behind a particular political party. I'm sure by the time we return next week, I will tell you why, and I'll explain more as we continue to up the game on the both voter apathy, voters education, and also we talk about political education on the Better You TV.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Mo. You took that right from my mind, and what I wanted to say in closing, that the month of February will be the month of nation building on the Better You TV show. As the political season heats up, we would focus entirely on nation building and how the Nigerian people can be well informed so that they can make the right decision going into the election cycle, whether you're members of a political party or you are simply a citizen who has a voter's card who should vote in the next election. There are things we should watch out for when these people begin to speak during the campaigns, either for the party tickets and for the main election. What are the indices that we should put before as questions for these people? The test of competence. We will discuss all of that in the course of this month. And I believe that we will be better informed at the end of the day so that we do not repeat the mistake that we have made in the past that has brought us to the current pass for which we have continued to complain. It's the Better You TV show, and it's been interesting and very pleasurable on our part to bring this to you. We'd like for you to join us same time, same platform next week. Talk to your friends. It's a beautiful time of interaction, and we are looking forward to seeing a better Nigeria because you are becoming a better you by reason of being a better informed person. Have a lovely night and enjoy the rest of the day.